If that's Jamari Thrash and he gets that ball taken away, it's like, yeah, it's Jamari Thrash down there. What are you going to do? But it's not. It's the guy you traded a second rounder for and then paid. And it's the guy that people in Denver were talking trash about before he went out the door. It's the guy the national media was getting into it with. Steve Smith and all those people were getting into it with. And this is just another indication. Because if I'm watching this, guys, a legitimate number one wide receiver is taking that ball.
It went really well. I mean, both Shedeur and Travis, they're fantastic young men. They're great human beings. Just kind of getting to know them both throughout the process. They really have been like raised right. They're all about football. They're smart. They're humble. It was really a pleasure.
Breaking news out of Cleveland, and this one hit the building like a thunderclap. Andrew Berry is not just frustrated, he is furious with how Browns players and certain members of the coaching structure have handled Shedeur Sanders after that brutal loss in the last game. Inside league circles, the word is that Berry felt the quarterback was left exposed, unsupported, and quietly blamed for issues that went way deeper than one player. That frustration boiled over fast. And when a GM reaches that point, moves happen. Loud ones, calculated ones.
Shedeur's performance just overall and some of the progress that maybe he made with you guys on offense.
There's something that we need to fix up, as an offense as a whole. It's hard to tell coming out of the game. It may feel better than what it looked like, so we've got to watch the film and see what we need to do better at.
That's exactly why Cleveland shocked the league by signing wide receiver Jamari Thrash, a move that instantly sent shockwaves through NFL media and locker rooms alike. This wasn't just a roster tweak, this was a statement. A clear signal that the front office has picked a side, and that side is Shedeur Sanders. Berry saw the body language, heard the whispers, and watched the tape, and he didn't like what he saw one bit. This move didn't come out of nowhere either.
So, it is what it is. I'm not one to, ever kick somebody down when you're down. There's no need for me to be extra and do.
It came directly on the heels of Jerry Jeudy's continued struggles that went beyond the stat sheet, drops in critical moments, missed opportunities on third downs, a lack of urgency when the offense needed precision. Berry isn't blind to that. He knows what a true franchise wide receiver looks like, and what he's seeing right now doesn't match that standard. But make no mistake, this isn't about singling out one player just to make an example. This is about direction. Andrew Berry is making it crystal clear that Shedeur Sanders is the future of the Cleveland Browns, and anyone who can't align with that vision is officially on notice.
If that's Jamari Thrash and he gets that ball taken away, it's like, yeah, it's Jamari Thrash down there. What are you going to do? But it's not. It's the guy you traded a second rounder for and then paid. And it's the guy that people in Denver were talking trash about before he went out the door. It's the guy the national media was getting into it with. Steve Smith and all those people were getting into it with. And this is just another indication. Because if I'm watching this, guys, a legitimate number one wide receiver is taking that ball. It's that simple. You really think like Jeremiah Smith when he comes out, Jeremiah Smith, the pipes he's got, you think he's letting anybody else get that ball? Right. Ain't happening. Jeremiah Smith gets that ball. Well, Jeremiah Smith's going to be a legend. Go around the league. Go around the league. Now, I'm sure there are a couple examples of guys being able to knock balls out of great wide receivers' hands.
By bringing Jamari Thrash into the building, Berry is pulling strings behind the scenes and sending a message that echoes through the entire organization. Adapt, elevate, or get replaced. Sanders needs protection, chemistry, and weapons that show up when the lights are bright. Berry understands that you can't evaluate a young quarterback fairly if the environment around him is unstable. No more leaning on big names who live off reputation instead of results. No more established studs who talk like leaders but disappear when it's time to execute. Andrew Berry is all in on Shedeur Sanders, and this move proves it without saying a word. He's backing his quarterback with action, not press conferences. The Browns' future isn't theoretical anymore. It's happening in real time, and it's being built around Sanders with an offense that's being reshaped to actually support him. This isn't patience. This is commitment. And don't get it twisted, this decision wasn't made quietly. Around the league, executives noticed, players noticed, agents noticed. Bringing Jamari Thrash aboard is a loud declaration that the Browns are done pretending everything is fine. It's a direct acknowledgement that Shedeur Sanders hasn't been given enough help from the receiving corps, especially when the margins are thin. Jerry Jeudy, once expected to be a pillar of the offense, has been a major letdown this season. The missed catches aren't isolated incidents anymore. They're a pattern that repeatedly stalled drives, killed momentum, and put unnecessary pressure back on a rookie quarterback trying to survive chaos.
I'm sure it happens, but to just rip it away from you and take it away? No. You name the very best. You name the very best. You name the strong ones. Even guys who are just strong wide receivers, they're not getting it taken away from. I agree with you. Good balls are good balls are good balls. That's a good ball thrown by Shedeur Sanders. Make a play. You're the wide receiver. You're the one who's the veteran. He's the rookie. You make the play. You know it's going to be tougher. Make a play. Stop blaming everything else. Make a play. Stop looking for things that aren't true. Guys, you got 3 more weeks, and he may be able to save this, but with the way things are, we'll talk to Zach Jackson at 9 about all this. With the way things are, he probably won't. So if you're waiting for the other shoe to drop and you're trying to be nasty about it, there's still 2 other picks to go at. There's still a game where I think he held on to the ball a little bit long because he was looking for guys to throw to. I still think that there was obviously confusion. I think that in so many ways he was kind of set up for failure because of how everything that went with the play cards and not being able to be as prepared for it as I think he should have been, or as I think they should have been with him. There's plenty of things going against him. I don't need to sit here and have a fight because I don't believe that. I don't believe that fight. 2, I don't need to go looking in places I don't need to look.
In fact, multiple drop passes from Sanders have directly shifted games, and everyone in the building knows it. Those weren't impossible throws. Those were routine NFL catches that didn't get finished. That reality only intensified Barry's urgency to act. His message is simple and unmistakable. If you're on the field with Shedeur Sanders, you better be part of the solution. Jerry Jeudy's resistance to fully buying into Kevin Stefanski's run-first structure only poured gasoline on the situation. When a receiver isn't aligned with the offensive identity, it shows up in timing, effort, and trust. And once that trust cracks, the entire operation suffers. Take one pivotal moment that perfectly sums it up. Late in the game, pressure closing in, Shedeur Sanders made a high-level adjustment at the line, kept his eyes downfield, and spotted Jeudy flashing open near the end zone. Tight coverage, small window, big moment. Sanders trusted his guy and delivered a clean, perfectly placed throw that only his receiver could make a play on. And then it happened. The ball hit Jeudy's hands and fell incomplete. A moment that should have been a momentum-shifting touchdown slipped away just like that. No excuses, no ambiguity. That was a play that had to be made. What made it worse wasn't just the drop. It was what came after. Instead of owning the mistake, Jerry Jeudy deflected responsibility. He pointed fingers. He criticized Shedeur Sanders publicly, suggesting the breakdown wasn't on him. That response sent shockwaves through the locker room. Veterans noticed, coaches noticed, and most importantly, Andrew Berry noticed. That refusal to take accountability exposed a growing divide that could no longer be ignored. When a young quarterback is fighting for stability, the last thing he needs is internal blame games. That moment made one thing painfully clear. Change was no longer optional for the Browns. It was necessary.
In regards to Shedeur and Theon's not going to interfere. Theon's not going to be calling the coach. Theon's not going to be commenting about Shedeur while he's in Colorado. Lou, I think there's a lot of just fake news.
And now, after a recent interview where Jerry Jeudy once again stirred controversy with his comments on Shedeur Sanders' performance, the picture is coming into focus even more clearly. This isn't just football anymore. It's alignment, belief, and trust. Andrew Berry has drawn his line, and the direction of this franchise is no longer up for debate. When Jerry Jeudy was questioned about Shedeur Sanders' play, the response immediately raised eyebrows across Cleveland and beyond. Instead of keeping things focused on collective execution, Jeudy suggested there were problems with the operation, and implied that after reviewing the tape, he could clearly identify where things went wrong. But it wasn't what he said that set alarms off. It was how he said it. His tone was sharp. His phrasing was calculated. And to anyone listening closely, it was obvious the blame was being subtly redirected towards Sanders. The entire exchange felt less like a leader addressing team issues and more like a public attempt to undermine a young quarterback still finding his footing in the league. Rather than protecting the locker room or promoting accountability across the board.
We had a conversation early that morning, and then we had a conversation later that day. I think we had the right people involved in the conversation. At the end of the day, that's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew made the call to pick Shedeur. Just like who's going to start or what play we're going to call is Kevin's call, but that's Andrew's call. He made the.
Jeudy's comments shifted the spotlight straight onto Sanders, creating unnecessary tension instead of solutions. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders handled the situation in a completely different way. When asked about the miscommunication that led to an interception, a play many believe stemmed from Jeudy's mistake, Sanders refused to throw his teammate under the bus. He didn't hesitate. He didn't pause. He defended Jeudy publicly and took the responsibility on himself. That moment spoke volumes. Even when the tape told a different story, Sanders chose leadership over ego. On the flip side, Jeudy sidestepped accountability entirely, doubling down on his narrative and pushing the fault back onto the quarterback. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. One player chose diplomacy and unity. The other chose deflection. And inside the Browns organization, people noticed. Andrew Berry, however, wasn't going to let that dynamic continue unchecked. He recognized immediately that something was off, not just on the field, but in the trust between quarterback and receiver. Berry understands that for a young quarterback to develop, the environment has to be stable, supportive, and aligned. That's why he didn't waste time. He made a decisive move and signed Jamari Thrash, a receiver he believes can handle pressure, execute assignments, and most importantly, support Shedeur Sanders the right way. Berry firmly believes Sanders deserves respect, patience, and real weapons, not public criticism disguised as analysis. What makes Berry's approach even more telling is how he operates quietly, without grandstanding.
It went really well. I mean, both Shedeur and Travis, they're fantastic young men. They're great human beings. Just kind of getting to know them both throughout the process. They really have been like raised right. They're all about football. They're smart. They're humble. It was really a pleasure. Very clean, very similar to what you see in the fall. He's very accurate. He throws with good touch. He has good pace. I actually thought the best balls that he threw this afternoon were the deep shots. Really well placed, plenty of range. You would expect quarterbacks to show well in this setting, and particularly ones with his skill set, just given how accurate and how catchable of a ball he throws. But he did a really nice job. I maybe laugh a little bit about that because I think over the past 4 years, and certainly in this setting, I don't see how that could be an issue. He can access every area of the field. We have no reservations about his arm strength. I'll leave here with could I have both of them, like that type of thing. But we'll take the whole process into mind. They're both fantastic players, and we have the next several weeks to sort out all the different scenarios. But today was a positive touch point really for both players. There are a number of players that we like at that spot. These two would obviously be included. They're fantastic prospects. They're fantastic individuals, and they'll represent an organization really well.
Okay. His willingness to stay in the background speaks volumes about his understanding of Shedeur Sanders' potential. Berry has seen firsthand what Sanders can do when things are clicking. That belief was reinforced during Sanders' NFL debut, a performance that turned heads inside the building. Berry was impressed, and unlike others, he didn't hesitate to acknowledge it publicly. He made sure Sanders felt seen, supported, and trusted as a leader. That kind of confidence from a GM matters, especially for a rookie quarterback navigating pressure from every direction. But as the weeks went on, it became clear Sanders wasn't getting the same level of support from his receiving group, particularly from Jeudy, who repeatedly failed to deliver in critical moments. Missed catches, broken timing, public comments that added fuel to internal tension. Berry saw the pattern and acted. Recognizing the urgency, he pulled the right strings and brought in Jamari Thrash, a promising wide receiver who could step in and change the tone immediately. This wasn't about punishment, it was about progress. Make no mistake, Andrew Berry has always been the true architect behind Shedeur Sanders' rise in Cleveland. From day one, Berry has been Sanders' strongest advocate, pushing internally for him to have a real opportunity, not a symbolic one. It was Berry's decision to draft Shedeur, a move later confirmed by Jimmy Haslam himself. While Kevin Stefanski may speak publicly about quarterback decisions, those inside the organization know the truth. Andrew Berry has been the one pulling the strings behind the scenes, making sure Sanders has every possible chance to succeed. And once again, when it became clear that Shedeur Sanders desperately needed a reliable wide receiver he could trust, Berry didn't hesitate. He moved with purpose. He moved with intent. Andrew Berry didn't hesitate. He moved fast, decisive, and with purpose, signing a new target to immediately support his young quarterback. This wasn't a reactionary move. This was calculated, deliberate, and rooted in long-term vision. It's yet another example of Berry's unwavering commitment to Shedeur Sanders and the future of the Cleveland Browns. From the very moment of the draft process, Berry had his eye on Sanders. Inside league circles, it was well known that Berry initially hoped to secure him in the first or second round. When that plan fell apart, the frustration was real and it was visible. But frustration didn't turn into hesitation. It turned into strategy. Berry stayed patient, stayed alert, and when the 5th round arrived, he took full control of the situation. That's when Andrew Berry stepped up and did what true franchise builders do. He went directly to Jimmy Haslam and made the case, not quietly, not casually. He pushed for it. He believed in it. And he convinced ownership that Shedeur Sanders belonged in Cleveland. That moment changed everything. Since then, Berry has remained at the helm, making sure Sanders not only stayed with the Browns, but walked into an environment where he had a real chance to succeed from day one. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens when a general manager is fully invested in his quarterback's future. Berry's dedication to Shedeur Sanders' development has been steady, focused, and unyielding. Through criticism, external noise, and internal challenges, Berry never wavered. He kept building. He kept adjusting. And now, after months of disappointing performances and growing attitude concerns, Andrew Berry has finally had enough of Jerry Jeudy's behavior and lack of accountability. This move wasn't impulsive. It was overdue. Berry recognized that protecting the future of the Cleveland Browns meant addressing problems head-on, even if that meant shaking up the receiver room. The signing of Jamari Thrash sends a message that cannot be misunderstood. Andrew Berry is committed to giving Shedeur Sanders the support he deserves, and the organization will no longer tolerate underperformance or a lack of responsibility from key players. Jerry Jeudy, who has repeatedly failed to rise to the occasion, is now feeling real pressure. His refusal to take ownership of mistakes, combined with public attempts to shift blame onto Shedeur Sanders, has placed him on dangerously thin ice. In this league, trust is everything, and once it's questioned, change follows fast. This move also sends a strong message to the entire roster. Mediocrity will not be accepted. Reputation will not save you. With Jamari Thrash entering the picture, competition just became real. Roles are no longer guaranteed. Snap counts are no longer safe. And it's only a matter of time before Jerry Jeudy's role is seriously reassessed. The changes have officially begun, and Jeudy now faces the very real possibility of being replaced if production and accountability don't improve immediately. Andrew Berry has made it clear. If you don't perform, you don't stay. Now it's on you. What do you think about Andrew Berry's decision to bring in Jamari Thrash? Is this the right move to show full support for Shedeur Sanders? Does it send the message Jerry Jeudy needed to hear? How do you feel about Jeudy's lack of accountability and his attempts to shift blame onto Sanders? Could this be the turning point that finally stabilizes the Browns? Or is Jeudy still capable of flipping the script and earning his spot back? Should Berry have acted sooner, or did he strike at exactly the right moment? Drop your thoughts below, like the video, comment your take, share it with other Browns fans, and subscribe for more Cleveland Browns and NFL updates.